Hi, welcome to Diving into Government ESL Style. My name is Michelle Portera and I'll be your diving instructor. If you've tuned in to the first two episodes with my friend Mrs. Fuller, you learned about our federal and state governments, specifically the three branches, just like a tree. Do you remember their names? Did I hear you say legislative, judicial, and executive? Yes! Awesome. All right. I hear you and I see that you're ready to explore our government even further. And as we do, we will practice two language skills in particular. First, we will take a look at idioms in the English language. Also, we will see just how important pronunciation can be, especially when memorizing and repeating after others. I have my supplies. Do you? Okay, let's get ready to take a deep dive into the rights and responsibilities of U.S. citizens.
Citizens? I'm a citizen. In 5th grade, I won the Good Citizen Award.
Well, Lynn, that's really great, but what exactly does that mean?
I got a certificate and I got a lollipop.
Right, but what I mean is, like, what did you do to win it?
Oh, I don't know. I was good. I was nice. Maybe I was a good helper. I know I passed out papers for the teacher.
Okay, I get it. It sounds like you were good at being a 5th grade student. Okay. And actually, being a good U.S. citizen is similar to being a good citizen at school. So let's talk about that. Citizen is the legal term for a member of a community or a group. Legally, as a U.S. citizen, you have both rights and responsibilities, which are both necessary to make our country a great place to live. When Lynn was a good 5th grade citizen, she was making school a great place to be. When Americans exercise their rights and act in a responsible way, our country becomes better. Let's focus in on rights and responsibilities. What is the difference between a right and a responsibility? Well, a right is something a person is allowed to do or enjoy without being punished by the government. The government actually protects our rights. Rights are things that we can do. A responsibility, on the other hand, is our job, the part that citizens do, because they enjoy the rights they have. Responsibilities are the things we should do as Americans. For example, citizens have the right to enjoy walking and playing in the park. These same citizens at the park have the responsibility to put their trash in garbage cans, obey the leash laws if they have pets for everyone's safety, and use the play structures correctly, making sure they keep themselves and others safe. This way, all citizens can enjoy the park. Money from taxes is used to maintain the park and keep it safe. You can say that rights and responsibilities go hand in hand. And here's our first idiom. Hand in hand is an idiom which is a phrase that doesn't mean literally what it says, because that would probably seem silly. But it's a phrase that illustrates a point being made. Some examples of other things that go hand in hand: movies and popcorn, peanut butter and jelly, salt and pepper. Take a few seconds to name 2 more things that go hand in hand. I'll wait. So, Lynn, did you think of any?
Cereal and milk.
Oh, yes, for sure. I am not a plain cereal girl, nor am I one of those people who wants to have my cereal with water or orange juice if we're out of milk. Good one. Those definitely go hand in hand. Well, let's get back to citizens and their rights. How do citizens know their rights? What are they exactly? Well, the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights tells us. These would take a long time for me to read to you right now. So I'll just name a few. So one of them is free speech, which means saying what you honestly think, however you would like to say it, and not being afraid of being punished for what you think. You have the right to own property. People are not allowed to take things that belong to you. You have the right to an education, to go to school. The U.S. government pays for public schools so that all children can be educated. In a democracy like ours, power is shared between the government and its people. Educating people goes a long way in making the country better with smart leaders. We also have the right to practice religion. We can choose our religion and we can worship in a way that satisfies us personally. We have the right to vote in elections because we have a say in who makes and enforces the laws. We have the right to a fair trial. If you are accused of a crime, your side of the story can be heard by a judge and a jury. What are the responsibilities of U.S. citizens? Here are just a few. Respect others. That's one of those 5th grade responsibilities. That's what we learn in school, and that is the number one thing to remember when you're being responsible. Respect others. Obey the laws wherever you are. Respond to court orders. This is something that as an adult you will experience in the world. You may get a jury summons and you do not have the right to ignore it. You do have to respond to it. Or if you are asked to appear in court for something, that's your responsibility. Pay taxes. Attend school, because citizens need education to use their power in the best way. And even here, with our free and public education, citizens have choices: public school, private school, or homeschool. You have the right to vote in elections. And you also have the responsibility to vote. Your responsibility is to stay informed about the issues and events that are happening around you so that you can vote in the best way. I'm not trying to be rude, Lynn, but would you mind waiting on that a little bit?
I would, but I don't have to. It's a free country.
Well, it is. You're absolutely right, it is. But we are grateful that we live in a free country where just because you can do something doesn't always mean that you should do it. This is where responsibility is important. You have a responsibility to think about the way your actions affect others.
Right. Well, in that case, I don't mind waiting until you're finished.
Thank you so much. I know our friends appreciate it, and I do too. You're such a great friend. Just because we have rights doesn't mean we can do anything we want whenever we want. If we did, life would be more difficult and confusing for everyone. For example, you would have the right to take anything you wanted from others, but they too would have the right to take from you as well. Not fun at all. In many ways, rights and responsibilities are the same. It's hard to sort them into 2 different categories, so it's helpful to think of them as opposite sides of the same coin. Let's think about the park again. We have the right to go there. We have the responsibility to only go when the park is open. We have to pay taxes so the government has money to maintain the park. We obey the rules of the park to keep ourselves and others safe. So yes, they can't be separated. Opposite sides of the same coin. Here we go with the idioms again. It's not an actual coin, but that gives us a great mental picture of the relationship between rights and responsibilities. Think about our right to own property, say a car. You can buy whichever car you would like to buy, whichever one you can afford, and whichever one matches your personality, let's say. But we have the responsibility to take good care of our car so it is safe to drive, obey the laws of the road like the speed limit and stop signs, and we also have to pay taxes on the car and purchase a car tag so the government has money to keep the roads safe. Another way to think about it is if freedom were a superpower, which it kind of is. Peter Parker's Uncle Ben reminded us that with great power comes great responsibility. Let's review now by matching our rights with the responsibilities that come with them. Our rights on the left side are safety, education, religion, free speech, and non-discrimination. That's a bonus one we haven't discussed, but I know you are up to the challenge. We have the right to not be discriminated against or not to be judged because of a category we may or may not belong to, relating to race, gender, our economic status, our age, and etc. Take a look at the responsibilities on the right. They are respect beliefs of others, listen respectfully when others speak, drive the speed limit, treat others fairly, specifically those who seem different than you, study to do your best. What are the relationships between these rights and responsibilities? And how would you match these up? Think about it for just a moment. If you have paper and pencil, you may want to write these down. What do you think the relationship is between the rights on the left and the responsibilities on the right? Okay, let's see how they're matched up. Look at safety. Did you choose that the responsibility for safety is to drive the speed limit? That's just one way we can be safe. There are so many ways that we can keep ourselves safe and others safe. Definitely driving the speed limit is a good idea and a responsibility. Look at education. Study to do your best is your responsibility. We know that school gives us a lot of things to be responsible for, and school teaches us responsibility. But the bottom line is, if we study, if we try our best, we're going to get the best education possible and we're going to be the best citizen possible. Religion. Yes, we have the right to freedom of religion. We also have the responsibility to respect the beliefs of others. We can agree to disagree if someone is believing different than we are. It's all about respect. Freedom of speech. We can be loud about what we believe, and we can talk about it a lot, or we can choose to be quieter. However, the responsibility is to listen respectfully when others speak and consider what they're saying. A lot of times when we're good listeners, we can learn something. And look at non-discrimination. We have the right to not be discriminated against. Just because we fall into certain categories doesn't mean that there are only certain jobs that we should be eligible for, or that we could be turned down in a store or in any scenario when someone is judging us by our appearance. We have the right to not be discriminated against. But also the responsibility falls on us. Treat others fairly, specifically those who seem different than we are. So how'd you do on our matching activity? I hope you did great, because now it's time for a vocabulary pop quiz. Are you ready? You may want to use a pencil and a paper to answer these questions, or maybe you're feeling good about using your sharp memory. Either way, let's look at the word bank at the bottom. Here are our words: democracy, responsibility, idiom, rights, and citizen. Let's read each definition. Number 1, read it out loud with me. A legal term meaning a member of a community. Number 2, a type of government where power is shared with citizens. Number 3, something citizens can do that is protected by law. Number 4, something citizens do as a result of freedoms they are given. And number 5, the name for an expression that illustrates a point and is not meant to be taken literally. Let's see how you did. How did you do? Number 1 was citizen. 2 was democracy, because that's our type of government. Number 3, rights are what we do that are protected by law. Number 4, responsibility is something that citizens do as a result of their freedoms or their rights. And number 5, an expression that illustrates a point and is not taken literally is an idiom. Good job. You are paying attention. Now let's talk about something most of us are familiar with, the pledge. Citizens recite the Pledge of Allegiance to show their commitment to America. It's something we learn as children in school, and later on we're able to truly understand why it's important. However, just like song lyrics are sometimes misheard, the pledge is both misheard and mispronounced a lot. It has some big words that cause young students some problems. So at the top is an example of how someone might say it if they've only heard the pledge. If they don't read English, it might end up sounding something like this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So now let's look at the actual words at the bottom of our Pledge of Allegiance. If you think about it, you can understand how which it stands is confused for which it stands, or how just us is almost identical to justice. One thing to note is that there is no comma after one nation, yet most people still pause between one nation and under God, and then again before saying indivisible. I think that's just how we as school children have learned to pace it, or maybe people who say them before sporting events. We just kind of got into that habit. It's something to think about. But now let's practice saying the pledge together, being careful to pronounce all sounds in the words and paying attention to the phrasing. And we put our right hand over our heart as we do this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great job. Government is a complex topic that's worth diving into. If it were simple, we may not enjoy the quality of life we have. If it were simple, it may mean that we have either too many laws or not enough, that we are obeying a dictator or no one at all. Neither option provides a balance of power like a democracy. Neither offers protection of human rights. So remember that if you ever feel overwhelmed at all there is to learn about how our country functions, there are many resources available to help clarify how government works and how to be a good citizen. Seek them out, ask questions, read, and stay informed. Here are a few helpful resources to get you started. Youth.gov. This website has up-to-date information on legal, social, financial, emotional, and cultural issues. Senate.gov has a list of books that explain everything from the Constitution to elections and everything in between. Ben's Guide, as in Benjamin Franklin, has information and games for all age ranges. I thought this was better for the younger group. ms.gov/government has information on state services as well as a directory of all elected officials in Mississippi, which means you can exercise your right to free speech in contacting those in your area and giving them feedback and sharing your ideas on how life can be improved in our state. Here's another question for you. How do you feel about your pronunciation? If you need ideas on how to practice your English, I suggest using YouTube to listen to a proficient speaker. Then put on the closed captioning, the CC at the bottom of the screen, and try to say exactly what you heard the way that you heard the speaker say it. Also, just keep talking. Use your English. You're doing great. Thank you for deep diving with us today as we looked at our rights and responsibilities while considering our language, pronunciation, and how we express our ideas through things like idioms. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope you've wondered some new things as well. Join me next time as we look back in time at the history of women's voting rights. See you then. Bye-bye.